Oh, wow. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Noble Father podcast. Today is December the 18th, 2023, and I first wanted to give a shout out to my dad. Happy birthday, Dad. If it wasn't for your bravery in leaving China all those years ago, I wouldn't be sitting here today. And I just wanted to say, congratulations on hitting 65 years. Now you can qualify for all the benefits of old folks menus and different perks now being 65. And I know I just said bye to you, but this is for everybody to know. Today is my dad's birthday, 65 years of age. And interesting yesterday. We celebrated together, did a dinner as a family. Made some chicken thighs and some steak and some rice. What's a meal without rice for us Asians? As we finished cleaning up, my brother sat down and they just attended a memorial service for my third aunt who passed away, about a month ago. And my brother said that he had some conversations with the aunts and about my grandpa on my mom's side, and he shared a story about how my grandpa was a bit of a jerk. His word was POS, so you can guess what those words mean. And because my mother is the fifth daughter, and so when they had the fourth daughter, my grandpa was quite upset, livid that my grandmother was not giving him a son. And he threatened to leave the family if my grandmother did not bear a son for this next child, which was my mom in the belly. And threatened wanting to get rid of the baby, which was my mom in the belly. And so you can imagine, hearing that story. When I heard this story yesterday, the gravity of it was like, so many things could have happened where I would not be doing this right now. I would not be sitting here right now. And yet God had greater plans. God knew, obviously they had the baby, they had my mom, and the upbringing that my mother had as the youngest daughter, before the brothers came after her. She is essentially the youngest. I think I've said this before on podcast episodes, and it's she was the one that the other four sisters relied upon for education. She was the one that got to go to school, and the pressures and things that were going on at home and Hong Kong at that time and place was not very well off. Her family was, the bottom of the barrel scrapers. They ate the leftovers of all the company workers that my grandma cooked for. And so all they had was everything else, and not very well off. And so the pressure on my mother was insane. And you guys have heard me talk about the dishwasher thing, right? Where she rides on me and tells me that this could have been done so much better. You can imagine what my mom went through as a child and into her adult years. And so there's this distance that my mom feels towards her family. And, when I talk about making sense of trauma, making sense of childhood, when I look at my father and my mother's life, they went through it. And that's what I encourage my friends and people that I speak to, those with trauma too, of like, hey, like, what would be the compassionate perspective to look at the situation that you're going through right now, right? Maybe your parents went through the same thing. Maybe they went through something way worse than you. Maybe they were abused as a child. Maybe they were neglected as a child. Maybe circumstance had it so, you know, maybe your grandfather went to war and didn't come back. Like maybe that had something to play in there of why you're feeling this trauma that you are feeling now. And to take a compassionate route, because, you know, if everybody had a choice and everybody could choose to not go through those things, absolutely they would. They wouldn't want to go through those things. Like, why would they subject themselves to it, right? Some of the things that people go through, you wouldn't even want your worst enemies to undergo. And so, you know, in starting out this podcast, you know, I'm very grateful of the life that I have right now, of the parents that I have right now. And I'm definitely going to tell my mom and dad about this episode, you know, and you know, mom and dad, thank you, right? I appreciate you and I love you. And I know I probably don't say that enough, but I appreciate everything that you do for me and for my family and for our family as a whole. And just the amount that you guys give all the time, coming over and taking care of us and providing for us. I'm very lucky to have parents like you, and you set the example for me to be a better father and to be the best father that I can be, and also to spread the love that you give me to other fathers out there. And so I wouldn't be doing this work if it wasn't for you, and I wanted you to know that. This past week, had something very interesting happen to me, and it's going to form the basis of this episode with you all. You know, Christmas season is around the corner, and we had been looking for a gift for my son for a long time, and this gift in particular, we were looking to get him a Nintendo Switch. And you know, so we've been scouring Marketplace, and all in the favor of wanting to save some money and being diligent and prudent with our money. You know, how we spend our money, you know, buying a brand new Switch at Costco, I believe the price was like $4.99, which, you know, it's a lot to stomach. We got a bunch of, you know, Costco cards from, you know, a mobile device purchase that we needed to upgrade our devices. And so we got a couple of those cards, but, you know, even spending, you know, 500 something bucks on a Nintendo Switch for my son was a lot to stomach. And that kind of put us in a position to want to look at the marketplace. And so Thursday morning, I was scouring the internet and on Facebook Marketplace, and came across this one post, and you know, maybe because it was in the morning and I wasn't thinking clearly, my mind was kind of all over the place, and there were a bunch of things that we needed to do. We needed to go to IKEA to take care of some stuff, and so we already kind of had the plans to want to go out, and I'm setting the stage for what's happening, you know, what is going to happen. So I had a conversation with the person, messaged and said, hey, is this available? And, you know, fairly quickly reached back out to me and said, yes, it's available. I got a few people who are interested. They want to pick up later today after 3 p.m. You know, nothing amiss about that. And I was like, you know, I'm very interested. Like I'm about to head out of the house, and I want to go. I'm going to go drop off my wife or whatever. You know, very trusting. You know, I'm a very trusting person, and I think that was maybe my biggest fault, is that I was too trusting and wasn't thinking clearly, wasn't being present. And you know, when I look back on the whole scenario, it's like sin. The Bible says God gives us a way out of our sin. Like He gives us an avenue to escape and walk away from it. And you either take it or you know, or it births into sin. Like you fall into a trap, and you know, it's like the warning signs are there, and yet you kept walking, and then you sin. And so I was, you know, feeling that urgency, scarcity, right? The person was like, hey, yeah, I got a few people who are coming to pick it up at 3 p.m. You know, and I was like, you know, I was available, you know, as an entrepreneur, I was able to make my own time. And because we were head out for errands anyways, I I was already like, I'm heading out anyways. Like, am I able to meet you? And they're like, well, what I can do is I can, take my lunch break and come to you and meet you at my house. And I was like, sure, yeah, I wouldn't mind that, right? And I was kind of like, I already knew what that meant, right? It meant that I needed to give some kind of assurance, some kind of a deposit, and I messaged before she responded saying, hey, like, yeah, I need an assurance. I'm not wasting my lunch break, and I was like, well, how much should the deposit be? And and as I tell this story to my friends, a lot of them were like, yeah, like that's too much to pay for a deposit. I ended up paying half, and this is an embarrassing story. This is very, very, yeah, it is embarrassing to talk because I feel stupid. I feel like an idiot, and I felt like I wasn't being present, and I paid the price for it. At the time that and I was like, so I'll just continue the story. I look at their profile, and their profile is brand new, and there's no posts on it. But for whatever reason, in that scarcity and in that urgency, and I saw the post wasn't, the person wasn't, was brand new and whatnot, but just the way that they were talking, and maybe I got completely fish hooked. I don't know how. I still look back and I'm like, man, I was very, very not present, and I was like, hey, like, are you able to confirm your identity with me? Like, I noticed your profile is there's nothing on it, and their response to me was like, yeah, it's a private account, and I don't share a lot of my stuff on there. And I just believed them. Like, I don't know what came over me. I just believed them, and just went straight to sending an e-transfer, just feeling that urgency, needing to do this for my child, or wanting to do this for my child. And I sent the half, and it was amazing how quick it was. This person didn't respond anymore. I messaged and I said, hey, I sent it to you. And the person was gone already. And, at the time I was on a Bible study call with some friends in Cincinnati, and I was visibly upset. I was angry, quite livid. And my wife was like doing dishes, after dropping off the kids, and right away I was like, babe, like I think I just got scammed. And she's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, like $120, the Nintendo Switch one. And she's like, oh man, it was hard to say that. It was hard to reveal that to her and give her that information. And I was so upset. But at the same time, I was on this Bible study call on Zoom, and I didn't want to hold on to that resentment. And I was so angry. I was so frustrated. I was so upset why anybody could do something like this. But then at the same time, I was also upset at myself of like, how stupid were you? Like, how many of these red flags did you need before you finally realized that this was bound to happen, that you openly walked into a stupid trap? And I was angry. I was very upset, but at the same time, I was like, I can't hold on to this. I can't. Nothing I do, nothing I feel, nothing that I get as angry as I wanted. What was I gonna do? What was I possibly going to do? Given the way that it all unfolded, the circumstances, and in that moment, I remember becoming very present and thinking to myself, I was like, God, please take these feelings from me. I pray that this money blesses this other person, regardless of what they did, regardless of why they did it, that it would bless them. And immediately felt this lightening of my burden. It was completely taken away from me, and I no longer felt this anger within me. And I was like, what a lesson to learn at $120. Better to learn this lesson at $120 than to learn it at who knows how many figures. It was a good reminder to be present, right? anyways, the story continues because it gets better. So as I'm on the Bible study, at the end of it, everybody says goodbye, and there's kind of three of us there, and I was like, hey, like I was, one of them was like, hey, like, are you okay? I saw you look visibly upset, and I revealed to them that I got scammed, and it's upsetting. It was very upsetting, and that guy had to jump off, and so it was just me and another friend of ours out in Florida, and he was just very curious about me, about how I was doing, and so he was asking about my business and what do I do, and about Noble Father, and hey, how do you get paid, and do you have a PayPal link, and all this stuff. And as we were conversing, and he, out of generosity and out of care and genuine genuine care for us, sent me $200, which it was like a roller coaster hour, in the morning, of just going through that, getting scammed, the emotions of it, giving it up to God, and then finishing the Bible study, and then having this brother blessing us this way, and then telling my wife, like, babe, like, somebody just gave us gave us some money, more than what we just got scammed for. Man, like, I can't tell you what that felt like in my heart. Like, it, you go from this place of hopelessness and devastation. I say devastation over $120, but you kind of understand what I mean, of like feeling all this emotion, riding this up and down, get to this really low, and then also get to this high, and felt incredibly blessed and grateful in that moment, just like so incredibly blessed. And to know that I had this support in my corner, that if anything were to happen, it gave me this reassurance that, man, Lord, like, you have these people in my life for a reason. And so, and that's not even the end of the story. So my day continues, and I feel like in my heart, I was like, I don't want other people to fall for this victim, this trap. And there's resistance in me to post about it because it's so embarrassing. And, people on the internet are very, very, candor is high. They'll speak their mind, keyboard warriors who just like to rip into people online, toxicity, whatever. I didn't care about those things. I'm pretty secure in my identity. I don't care what people say. I'm pretty thick-skinned, right? You can, I'll laugh with you, And so, I felt moved to go onto Reddit, and on the Vancouver subreddit. If you don't know what Reddit is like a website that has a forum, and they're, specific to, a certain topic. Vancouver has one. So I went on there, and I just typed out a lengthy post about what I did and the lesson that I learned, and, kind of warning other people about the same thing happening. And the feedback from that post went viral. And man, so many people saw it. It was kind of crazy, actually. And I essentially just like posted everything that I went through, to other people. It went out to like 145,000 people saw it. Got upvoted, got shared 77 times, and people shot comments and stuff. And like Friday night, somebody reached out on Reddit. Actually, a few people reached out on Reddit and like, hey, the very first one actually was like, hey, I want to bless you with my Nintendo Switch. And from whenever you get scammed to this happening, everything that's unfolded already in the morning, and then somebody on a platform randomly just reaching out to you and saying, hey, I want to bless you with a free Nintendo Switch. I don't play with it anymore, whatever. Not even asking to be paid, just like, hey, like, I want to give this to you. I want to bless your son with this gift. Man, like, faith in humanity was like restored, within me. I obviously in the morning, it was already restored. I already knew God. Like, I know God. I know I know who he is. I know what he is capable. I know the assurances that he's given me. My faith is in him. My faith is not in humanity. But, to have a stranger to have a friend do this for me in the morning, and then to have a stranger do this for me later in the afternoon. Like I had no words. Like we were beyond blessed. Like after the friend sending the money, I was already feeling beyond blessed. I just wanted to go bless other people. I just wanted to do this for so many people, and interacted with this person, reached back out. The only reason I reached back out to this person was like because the person's username was, I'm not going to say the whole username, but it said arm bars in the username. And arm bars, if you don't know, is something we do in jiu-jitsu. And I saw the name, I was like, if it was anything else, I probably wouldn't have responded. I didn't want to get scammed again. I don't want to. It wasn't the point of the post. It wasn't to get something out of that. I wasn't looking for that, to be blessed that way. I just really wanted to be educational, and I wanted to show other people what I went through and be realistic and honest with what I went through so that other people don't get screwed out of their hard-earned money on Christmas season. And so I had this conversation with her, it was her, and it just messaged with her, and it was amazing. It turned out she was from China, and she did jiu-jitsu too, and what was crazy is that she did jiu-jitsu in the gym that I train at now 10 years ago, which to me, it wasn't a coincidence. This was totally a God thing for me. I was like, wow, like, what are the chances? Almost as I made a friend out of this, right? And she just was so adamant about giving us this gift. And, and I'm a person who likes to speak honestly, right? And, talking to my wife, conversed with her, and I told her about the response and the comments and people reaching out and saying, wanting to bless us with this. She was moved to tears. My wife was moved to tears because, wow, like this overflowing of blessing all of a sudden, I deserve to get scammed. Let's just be real. I felt like I deserved to get scammed. Like I wasn't present, and I wasn't being smart, and I didn't see the red flags, and I didn't listen to the red flags. I didn't slow down to feel what was in my heart and my spirit. And so, yes, did I deserve to get scammed? Absolutely. But to have all these things happen too, I definitely didn't feel like I deserved that either. So, I didn't know how she would feel if, and this was something my wife and I were thinking about, was like we're beyond blessed. For us to go and pick up this switch, and we're driving what we drive when we drive a Tesla, and I was real with her. I messaged her and I was like, hey, I don't know how I feel about picking this up in a Tesla. I gave her the context, like, we, in 2019, there was a moment where our business was actually doing well. This was when I was running my digital marketing agency. We were looking to change our vehicle, and it just made sense for us financially to do that. This was before the pandemic. Pandemic hit, and fell on hard times again. And did we regret getting the Tesla? No, we didn't. But it is what it is. Just gave that context because it's just very real. I'm very trusting of people. I'll give the information, and I want to be courteous to other people, and I want to be genuine about who we are. I don't want to give out the false illusion that of any of that. And it was so beautiful the way that the person chose to respond. She was like, it's not my role and my responsibility to judge you for anything, whatever. It doesn't matter what you drive, doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter how opulent your life is. It doesn't change what I want to do still. And I was speechless. You don't have to do this for me. You don't have to do this for us. And yet, as we engaged, and I was like, hey, like, she was okay with it. We felt in the moment that we would be okay with it. And I said, hey, like, I'd love to pick up tomorrow. And we arranged a time, and I was like, hey, I want to shake your hand. I want to, be a friend. And so we went meet up, and she, ended up blessing us with this gift. And she shared an exchange of saying, hey, like, the gym that we train at, is Marcus Soares gym in Maple Ridge, Langley, and Vancouver. And I was like, hey, like, Marcus is definitely going to remember you. And she's like, nah, like such a long time ago. I was only in there for a few. And because it just so happened that Friday was our grading. So where we, get tested and to see, how we progress and, to earn stripes or to earn belts. And before the grading, I went to Marcus. I was like, hey, do you remember this person? And then to Dana. Also, Dana is Marcus's partner, wife. And I was like, hey, like, do you remember this person? They both remembered her. And of course, I knew that. I had no doubt that they remembered. They're just great people in the BJJ community out here in Vancouver. And I was like, hey, like, do you know them? And she's like, yeah, we remember them. And it was a great way. It was a great message to send back to her. It was like, hey, they totally remember you. Like, they spoke very highly of you and all this stuff. And so, yesterday, looking back at the post again, local TV station wanted to reach out and say, hey, like, we wanted to do a story or thing. Obviously, they haven't got back to me, but, it's just the feedback from even just being vulnerable and stepping out into the unknown and being in the discomfort to really want to serve other people. Man, like, we came away with more than we anticipated from getting scammed. And so, I wanted to give my warning to you is that be careful when you're impulsive, urgent, and somebody puts you in a position of scarcity. The scarcity is that saying, oh, there's a few people who want to pick up at 3 p.m. It kind of stokes you to like, oh, I need to do this quickly. It's kind of scammy marketing. Scummy marketing is like creating in you a scarcity and saying, oh, there's only 3 things available. We got a whole bunch of people who are interested, and there's only 3 left. So it's a good deal. So get on it. And that lack of presence really screwed me over. And I would say, right, the lessons that I learned truly, if a deal is too good to be true, it probably is. And obviously, I didn't live certain protocols with this. Never send money before you've seen the product in person, regardless of what the deposit they're asking for, no matter how realistic it may look. The messages that were sent to me, man, like I'm very trusting. And the way that the messages were written, obviously these people know what they're doing. They know how to get people to do certain things and, smooth their way, around. And don't be afraid to call the bank too, right? And let them know about the situation because, they can look into the account. And that's what we ended up doing, was putting in a claim for the loss prevention department and telling them about what happened, because I wanted to help other people not feel the same way that I did, right? Because I have God and I have a reassurance from Him. And if I wasn't on the Bible study, man, I don't know what I would have done. I don't know how angry I would have been, how it would have ruined my day. And so, to have that assurance is different. And I didn't want other people to feel that. And I didn't want other people to go through what I went through. Definitely look out, if it's a new account, with nothing on it, look elsewhere. Like it really isn't worth it to save the money. And a lot of the comments said that. It was like, hey, like, you're dealing with a lot of problems buying electronics online. You don't know if it's going to work. You take it home and something's wrong with it. Buying brand new comes with the warranty, comes with the guarantee. Like you're paying more. It's also not worth the headache of dealing with scams, right? Like nobody wants to be scammed. And so is it worth it to buy brand new and avoid that problem, right? And if you didn't want it, you could always return it. You always have that. There's also places that have good deals. Shoppers Drug Mart does like, this crazy, 20x points thing that they do that you can redeem. Like there's other things out there that you can do. Don't let the scarcity cloud your judgment. This is something that I wrote in the post and I'm just kind of reading off of it. Another thing is really to sit on a decision, right? Seek the advice of a trusted person before jumping on a deal. My lack of presence made it so that I jumped on it, and I should have just asked my wife and said, hey, like they want a half deposit. I'm pretty sure if I said that to her, she would say, yeah, that's not going to happen. That's not a good idea. Every single person I've told this story to are like, yeah, you shouldn't have given half. That's definitely too much. Like, you should not have done that. That's a lesson I learned now. That's a lesson I learned. And even I know that was ridiculous. I don't know why I did it. And I don't know how I got into the position to do that. But sit on it, right? Think about it. Like a big purchase, they say sleep on it. Sleep on the decision, right? Gives you clarity of mind. Wait, don't feed into this time limited thing. Don't feed into the scarcity of it. There's no urgency, right? Like, we still have 7 days until Christmas. Like, there's no rush. Can you get it afterwards? Absolutely. Can you wait for Boxing Day sales? Absolutely. Can you, figure out something else? Totally. There's no rush to do any of these. And these are all material things too. They will pass away one day. It will break and disappear. A new one will replace it. A more updated version with better features is going to replace it. This momentary joy that my son is going to experience from getting this pales in comparison. But I walked away with so much, and I learned so much, and I restored my hope in humanity, I guess you could say, and also showed how loving and caring a God we have. He knew what was going to happen, and he anticipated what was going to happen, and he had a community that was going to surround us in this moment. And now all we can think about is just blessing others. It's just like, man, felt so blessed, so incredibly blessed. And so that's kind of what I wanted to share today. Don't get scammed. Don't get scammed like me. Don't be a dummy like me. And be patient. Wait upon timing. If it's yours, if it's meant to be yours, it'll be yours, as my mom always likes to say. And that's really all I wanted to share today. Another thing I wanted to just briefly say is, and as I'm announcing it here, is that I'm going to do it. This holiday season, I want to sit down and have a conversation with my dad. And I've talked about this for a while. He's back now. And I'm going to be in the discussion of talking about doing a podcast episode together to learn about what he went through growing up, what was fatherhood like for him, and to learn from him, put down on the airwaves what it was like growing up in China, his journey through fatherhood, lessons that he's learned. And it's going to be the series and makes the basis of 2024. I'm looking to have more guests on the podcast, but not just guests on the podcast. I want to have my noble fathers with their dads on the podcast for me to hold space for them to dig up the stories about life, about fatherhood. There's so much to it that, we can unravel a memory, and it would bless the father. It would bless my noble fathers. It would bless other people online. And it'll be like a time capsule for their children one day when they become fathers. This is going to be on the airwaves, and my son will be able to listen to it. My son's son will be able to, my daughter's kids will be able to listen. My daughter will be able to listen to it. It'll bless so many people, and that knowledge will serve so many people. And so that's kind of the dream that I have for 2024, which is why it's going to be an epic year. And I'm looking to do less of these monologues and do more of these in-depth conversations. That is the dream. That is what I want for the podcast moving forward. And so stay tuned for that. Again, if you're on YouTube, you can watch these episodes now on video form there. Still on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you're able to, please go to Apple Podcasts and do a review and rate this podcast. Helps me get before a bigger audience. Share this podcast with other people, so that they can avoid getting scammed as well. And also, this is all I do for work. And so if you're able to, head on over to the Patreon and subscribe. I post podcasts there as well on Wednesdays. And this is just everything I do for fathers. This is all I do for work. And I really hope that it blesses you and that it finds your way to you. And any feedback you have, please reach out to me. I'm not some guy on a pedestal. I'm not up somewhere. Like I'm just a regular old dad trying to do my best, being noble in a very unknoble world. And so thank you. Happy holidays. Actually, next week is going to be the podcast release. And so may or may not do an episode. I'm going to figure out what that's going to look like. But if I don't, have a Merry Christmas. Don't forget the reason for the season. The greatest gift of all time, humanity. Jesus was that gift, to pave a way for a relationship with God after the sin that we'd committed. Jesus is that bridge. He is the reason for the season. And if you have any questions about that, you can definitely reach out to me also. Hope this episode blesses you. And thank you for finding your way here. And until next time, bye for now.